Good afternoon, my dear channel followers. English from A to Z with Mr. Aziz Zuhair. Today, we are going to see another video, and the lecture of today is linked to adjective clauses. So adjective clauses can be the first type of what we call a complex sentence. So let's jump automatically to the types of adjective clauses. So the first type is called restrictive or defining or essential. Why is it essential? So here the relative clause that begins with a relative pronoun plus verb, and what comes after it is called relative clause. And in order to name an adjective, a clause, an adjective clause, it needs to have a relative pronoun or a relative adverb plus the predicate. I mean verb plus something after it. But why is it restrictive and defining? Why are we going to name it so? To mean that the relative clause in this case is essential. We cannot avoid it. We cannot omit it. It must be there in order to complete the meaning of the sentence. Therefore, it identifies the noun it follows. We call it in grammar antecedent. So any relative pronoun or relative adverb must be related to its antecedent. If there is no antecedent, this is not an adjective clause. This is something that we should bear in mind from the beginning. So let's try to analyze each sentence alone. I sent a telegram to a teacher. The teacher lives abroad. So here, when we want to deal with adjective clauses, let me give you a key technique that you should apply when you want to combine. Try to identify the words that are repeated. So here we have a teacher, and then we have the teacher. So which means that here I am going to use the adjective clause, and I'm going to base on the term or on the words a teacher and the teacher. Therefore, the answer to this one, if I want to combine it, it becomes I sent a telegram to a teacher who lives abroad. This is the answer. So the relative clause here is who lives abroad. And it refers, who refers to the antecedent, a teacher. In this case, restrictive means no use of punctuation, especially comma or two commas. It depends on the adjective clause where it is. If it takes a medial possession, we are going to have 2 commas. But when it takes a final possession, just 1 comma. If it is non-restrictive. But concerning the first examples that I have in front of us, we are going to focus on just the restrictive case. The second one. The waiter was polite. He served me at the restaurant. The key word is the waiter. The second word referring to the waiter is he. And then it becomes the waiter. The waiter who served me at the restaurant who served me at the restaurant was polite. So this is the answer. Therefore, it becomes the relative clause is who served me at the restaurant. The adjective clause or the relative clause is called is who served me at the restaurant. So it is restrictive. Why? Because if I omit this relative clause, which is who served me at the restaurant, the meaning is going to be completely different. Therefore, the waiter was polite. When I say this sentence to you, you are going to tell me, who is this waiter that you are talking about? Ah, the waiter who served me at the restaurant. So please forget about the article the, because it is definite. No, has nothing to do with the adjective clause. So the relative clause here is necessary in order to complete the meaning of the whole sentence. If I take it out, the meaning is not going to be the same, because I'm going to ask, who is this waiter that you are talking about? Number 3, women should be looked after. Women are widowed by war. So here, the 2 words that are repeated are women, women. Therefore, it becomes women who are widowed by war should be looked after. Therefore, who are widowed by war, this is the relative clause, this is the adjective clause. What kind of adjective clause? It is a restrictive adjective clause. But here we are going to test whether we are going to have the same meaning. Either we have the relative clause or we omit it. Women should be looked after. Here means we speak about women in general. Pay attention, in general. But when I put the restrictive adjective clause, we are going to speak about a category of women. It is restricted, which means I'm going to speak about widows. Women who are widowed by war. Not all women. That's why here the adjective clause comes to restrict the meaning and the category I'm speaking about concerning the antecedent, which is women. So concerning restrictive, no punctuation. So this is very important. No punctuation. Don't use punctuation. Why? Because the relative clause or the adjective clause is obligatory, is necessary in order to complete the meaning. No punctuation, no commas. Now we move to the second type. The second type is non-restrictive, which is non-defining, and therefore it is non-essential. It is extra. We can take it out, we can omit it, and then no difference concerning the meaning. The relative clause here, if it is omitted, is not going to affect the meaning of the whole sentence. Therefore, it provides more information about the antecedent. It adds something, but it does not identify it. It's not like the first one. The first one, yes, it is there. It is there in order to identify the antecedent. But in this case, it just adds more information about the antecedent. And here we have the specific cases of non-restrictive. So non-restrictive means punctuation, okay, which means the use of commas. They are necessary in order to mean that the sentence is non-restrictive, the adjective clause. The first one, proper noun. So Wilson is a proper noun. Whenever we have a proper noun, the adjective clause becomes non-restrictive. So the answer, let me try to read the sentence. Professor Wilson is an excellent lecturer. His accent. So his, it refers to Professor Wilson. So in this case, the answer is going to be Professor I'm sorry. Professor Wilson, whose. So when you have possessive adjective like my, your, his, her, its, our, your, their, or you have the possessive noun Wilson's accent, Ahmed's brother, what do we say, Peter's house. In this case, possessive noun or possessive adjective, we are going to use here whose. Professor Wilson, whose accent is nice, is an excellent lecturer. So here the adjective clause is whose accent is nice. This is the relative clause. It begins with whose, and in this case it needs comma and second comma after nice. So this is what we call non-restrictive adjective clause. Why? Because Professor Wilson is known, is defined, and therefore whose accent is nice is a non-restrictive adjective clause. The antecedent is always Wilson. One of its kind. So in order to understand this, if I ask someone, how many mothers do you have? He's going to tell me one mother. You are not going to have two. One mother. Biologically speaking, one mother. So this one, his mother is interested in Western films, she. So the word that is repeated is his mother and she. In this case, it becomes his mother who is literate is interested in Western films. The adjective clause here is who is interested, who is illiterate, who is illiterate. And in this case, it is non-restrictive. Why? Because everyone has just one mother. Okay, am I clear? So let's move to the other one, which is, let me try to make this, okay. Number 3, antecedent modified by an adjective. So here you should pay attention a lot. Your first idea should be written on the blackboard. It is not clear. The repeated words are your first idea and then it. When I say first, I use an ordinal number. It becomes clearer. But when I say your idea, it's not clear. Which idea are you talking about? But when I say my first idea, not my second idea or third one, I'm speaking about my first idea. So it becomes here known, it becomes clear. The answer your first idea which is not clear should be written on the blackboard. So here we are going to put comma here because it's clear, which is not clear. Second one, this one. Therefore, the adjective clause is this one. Something very important. Don't follow this pattern. For example, your first idea, which should be written on the blackboard, is not clear. No, you should jump to the second clause and then refer to the first clause. It's a question of importance, which means your first idea, number 1, this is the independent, and it's not clear, this is the subordinate, the dependent. Therefore, when you want to answer, you should respect this pattern. Number 3, smoking damages one's health. It is a harmful addiction. Generic terms means when we speak about smoking, we are not going to have different types of smoking. All of us, we understand smoking. When I speak about love, when I speak about what do we say, abstract nouns, when I speak about solidarity, when I speak about what do we say, another word, for example, tenderness. So in this case, you are not going to tell me which smoking you are talking about, which love are you talking about. You see? So these ones, like smoking, love, solidarity, and so on, we call them generic terms. The answer, the word that is repeated, smoking and it, and therefore it becomes smoking, which is a harmful addiction, damages one's health. Therefore, here, comma, and here, sorry, I have put second one. Oh my God. Therefore, it becomes, this is the relative clause. And this is non-restrictive adjective clause. Near demonstrative pronouns. So here when you speak about near, we speak about this or the plural, these. It becomes clear. This is the book. I am not speaking about that book, but I am speaking about this. Therefore, it's clear and it's obvious. The second word that is repeated, I have been looking for it, this and it. Or I'm sorry, book and it. This is the book and it. This is the book for which I have been looking for hours. This is the book for which I have been looking for hours. So here, one comma. Why? Because the adjective clause takes a final possession. Okay, so when it takes a final possession, just one comma concerning non-restrictive cases. Clause modifying clause. So here we have she misbehaved frequently, which is a clause. And second one is this. So this refers to she misbehaved frequently, refers to the fact that she misbehaved frequently. It does not refer to just one word, but to a clause. And therefore, we call it clause modifying clause. It becomes she misbehaved frequently, comma, which was unacceptable. And from which till the end. This is the adjective clause. One comma, because the adjective clause takes a final possession. So whenever we have a clause that modifies another clause, we must have a comma. Of phrases. Here we have, in my class there are 20 students. 20 students, this is the first word, 20 students. And then most of these 20 students, most of them refer to 20 students. We call it, in order to simplify matters for you, is a part or sum of the whole. Sum of the whole. Not all of them, 20, but most of them. That's why we call it sum of the whole. The answer is, in my class, there are 20 students, comma, most of whom are from the Far East. The adjective clause here takes a final possession, and therefore it is non-restrictive all the time. Here I want you to pay attention. Either in this of phrase we put either whom or which, not more, just whom or which. When you are speaking about people, you use whom. When you speak about animals animals or objects, you use which. Therefore, she has here two answers. Neither of the two answers. Therefore, it becomes she has two answers, comma, neither of which is right. So the adjective clause or the relative clause, it begins from here it is, neither of which is right. Universally one. So all over the world there is one moon. We have one sun. Okay? So here we call it the moon, the moon. So the moon that which moves around the earth once in a month, shines at night. Here we put a comma and then we go till this place, till here, and we put a comma. Therefore, the adjective clause is this one. Okay, so one thing which is very important is that when you deal with non-restrictive cases, either one comma if it is in a final possession, the adjective clause, or two commas when it takes a medial possession. The adjective clause can never be at the beginning, never, because we need at least a noun, the antecedent. That's why either a medial possession or a final possession. Now let's move to supplementary instructions in order to reinforce your knowledge concerning the adjective clauses. That is not possible when it is preceded by a preposition. For example, I can remember all the things about that. No, you should not use this. What you should use, I can remember all the things that we were talking about yesterday. That's why I have put an asterisk, which means grammatically it is not correct. Number two, a collective noun versus a body of individuals. There are certain nouns, for example, the government, the family, and many others. Either you consider the government as one, or you consider the members that belong to that government. You see? So here it depends. The government, which? So which here refers to the government as a body of individuals. You don't speak about the members because it is collective here, as a collective noun, which has welcomed to the proposal warmly, has directed the public affairs successfully. So here we don't put comma first of all because the government, we don't know which government we are talking about, and therefore the second one we are going to put who. So the difference is a question what time to use which and what time to use who. So here who refers automatically to the government, but we understand that we are speaking about the members, the individuals related to this government. The government who have welcomed the proposal warmly means the people here. You don't speak about the government as a whole, but you speak about its members have directed the public affairs successfully. So here it's question what time to use which and what time to use who with a collective noun. Let me move to something very important which is called contact clause. A contact clause is related to whom, but when it functions as an object of verb or preposition. For example, in this sentence, they insulted the man whom you invited. So here whom we can omit it, and we should understand that its place is there. Therefore, you invited, this is what we call relative clause. This is the adjective clause, and it becomes, concerning its analysis, it's a restrictive adjective clause introduced by the missing, it is not there, the missing relative pronoun, which is who, whom, or that. Both of them here interchangeable, no problem. Do you see? Here it becomes a contact clause. This is the case where the relative pronoun is omitted. And no phrase may be an alternative to an adjective clause with whose. So here we have two cases, both of them are correct. I have a book, the cover of this book is blue. Book and the cover of this book. What does it mean, the cover of this book? Its cover. The cover of this book, its cover is blue. It's the same. So when we want to combine the two, it becomes I have a book, the cover of which is blue, or I have a book whose cover is blue. Either case is correct. The other one, never insert a relative pronoun in the same sentence. The man is a grocer. He has 3 children. The repeated words are the man, he. I have spoken about it before. Don't say the man who is a grocer has 3 children. No, it's incorrect. It is not acceptable. Therefore, the man who has 3 children is a grocer. You see, there is an asterisk. Sometimes an antecedent may be modified by an adjective, but it may be restrictive. I have spoken about the case of first, second, when we have an ordinal. But here, I'm having upper tooth. How many upper teeth do you have? You have many. Which one are you talking about? You don't know. So even if here we have the adjective upper, it is restrictive. It is restrictive. Why? Because upper it is necessary there, upper tooth, it is necessary there as an adjective, but does not make the sentence or the clause clear, the adjective clause. Therefore, my upper tooth, which frequently aches me, is decayed. So this adjective clause, if we omit it, we are not going to understand. My upper tooth is decayed. Which one are you talking about? In order to make it clear, you should add which frequently aches me. Am I clear? Okay, so pay attention when an adjective modifies a noun. It doesn't mean whenever you see an adjective, it's non-restrictive. No, pay attention. When I say first, negate second or third. But when I say upper, how many upper teeth do you have? You have many. And which one you are talking about, we don't know. In order to finalize my lecture, let me give you some types of analysis in order to know how to analyze a passage analysis. The man is a teacher. He lives in Tangier. The 2 words that are repeated, the man and he. This is the day. For example, the day of the exam, you are going to have sentences like this, but they are going to be a little bit complicated, and we are going to have a mixture between adjective clause, noun clause, participle phrase, infinitive phrase, gerund phrase, adverbial clause, okay, plus abridgment. In this case, both of them at the beginning, they are independent clauses. But once I want to combine the two, it becomes the man, you move to the second clause, who lives in Tangier is a teacher. So who lives in Tangier, this is the dependent clause because it is initiated, or it begins with relative pronoun, which is who. The man is a teacher, this is the independent clause. Concerning the analysis, you are going to say just this sentence. It is a restrictive adjective clause. That's enough. Restrictive because we don't know who is this man we are talking about. So we need who lives in Tangier in order to complete and to identify the man. Number 2, Noel works in a factory. It is the oldest in Rabat. So here, a factory and it. The 2 words that are repeated. Both of them are independent because they are not combined yet. When I want to combine the 2, it becomes Noel works in a factory which is the oldest in Rabat. So, relative clause, this is the dependent. The first one, independent. In this case, it is, restrictive adjective clause. A factory. Which factory you are talking about? We don't know. Here, which is the oldest in Rabat, which is a relative clause or adjective clause, comes to identify a factory in this case. Am I clear? The other one. The man is optimistic. We know him very well. Both of them independent clauses. I want to combine the two. The man we know him, we know very well is optimistic. So this one is dependent. The independent is the man is optimistic. The analysis, this is what we call contact clause. It is a restrictive adjective clause introduced by the missing relative pronoun. It should be in this place, which is whom. Okay, so one thing that I should refer to speak about is related to this one. What is it? This is the book for which I have been looking for hours. Whenever you have a preposition followed by a relative pronoun, this is what we call formal. And we may have another one, another answer, and it is going to be like this. I am going to take here for, I'm going to put it here, which I have been looking for hours. So even if you have here 4 and 4, no problem. But to make it formal is better, because here, what do we say? Accidentally, we have 2 words which are the same. But to make a difference between the 2, 4 is part of the phrasal verb, which is to look for, as one unit. And 4 hours, this is for as a preposition that shows the duration. But for related to look, this is phrasal verb, and we call it particle. So the first one is a particle, a part of the phrasal verb, and for the second one is a preposition. Do you see? So in this case, no problem. Either you use formal or informal, no problem. Both of them are correct. So the lecture of adjective clauses is over. See you in another video, and thanks for watching.